Welcome back to Bakes on Things, the first sip for your Monday. Grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's kick this week off. It is going to sting, though, today because the truth always stings. And in this case, the truth is that Canada may never see accountability for the $22 billion they've already spent. Yes, billion with a B, that Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney's Liberals have shipped off to Ukraine with no checks, no balances, and no receipts. They basically held your wallet wide open over a shredder and said, don't worry, we'll figure all of this out later. But spoiler alert, they didn't. Let's go.
Welcome to Bakes on Things.
Welcome back to Bakes on Things, the first sip for your Monday. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join this conversation. Now, the country we've been financially propping up, a country we have been told is fighting for democracy, fighting corruption, fighting authoritarianism, has just uncovered a $100 million kickback and money laundering scheme right inside the presidential administration. Not low-level people, by the way, not a rogue procurement clerk. No, we are talking about Andriy Yermak, Zelensky's chief of staff, the second most powerful man in the country of Ukraine, being forced out. Two cabinet ministers implicated, former business partners of Zelenskyy. Now, literally on the run in Ukraine. A scheme tied to Ukraine's energy grid, the backbone of their entire war effort. This is crazy, man. This is really crazy. If that's what was happening inside the war cabinet, imagine what was happening anywhere else in that country. But before we go further with that, let's go and get something out of the way first, because it doesn't play games today, okay? This episode is not going to play any games. We're not pulling any punches here, and we're not restricting ourselves. No, this doesn't justify Putin's invasion. No, it does not diminish the suffering of the Ukrainian people. And no, it does not mean Ukrainians don't deserve some kind of support here. We're not saying any of that. What it does mean is that Canada's government has been reckless, unserious, sloppy, wasteful, and downright irresponsible with your money again. And that's the problem here. Just like they always are. Just like Melanie Joly was when she admitted she didn't even read the Stellantis contract before signing off on billions of dollars of subsidies. This is what liberals do. Just like the liberals were when they gave Volkswagen a blank check. Just like when they lost $32 billion in COVID spending. Just like when they grant billions of dollars to foreign companies who never produce the jobs that they promise for this country. It is consistently a trend with this liberal government. Now, this Ukraine scandal doesn't exist in isolation. It's simply the latest chapter in a book Canada has been forced to read for the last 10 straight years, the liberal book of fiscal fantasy. And the ending of this book, the way we're going to finish this thing up, is there a spoiler? Is there a cliffhanger? No, it's always the same. Canadian taxpayers get shafted, everyone else gets paid, and you get absolutely nothing as the Canadian citizen for the money that they have dished out penny by penny to other countries and to their terrible policies. So let's break down what this scandal actually means. Not for Ukraine, not for the EU, but for our own country, of Canada, because we are one of the highest spending foreign aid countries in this planet, or on this planet. Unlike every other country giving money to Ukraine, Canada has been the least transparent and the least accountable with how our funding is tracked and what it is used for. The United States has required audits on every dollar they have sent to Ukraine. The EU demanded oversight as it was spent. Japan insisted on expenditure reports as well. The UK required parliamentary review of how the money was spent. But Canada? Do you think we required any of that? No, we cut a $22 billion check and said, let us know how it goes. We hope this works out for you. Are you kidding me? That is $22 billion. We were their sugar daddy. We were the sugar daddy of the G7. No questions asked, no terms, no conditions, and of course, The liberal way, no follow up. And now, Ukrainians themselves, the average everyday people trying to survive a war, are furious because their own insiders were skimming money right off the top of this, probably most of it Canadian, turning contracts meant to protect the electrical grid into personal ATM machines for themselves. Who couldn't see this coming, especially without checks and balances? But do you think they knew? Do you think they knew that they wouldn't have to have any reports back? Of course they did. If Ukrainians donating from their own pockets feel betrayed, what should Canadian taxpayers feel? We didn't donate $50, folks. We didn't drop off a bag of clothes to the Ukrainian people. We sent $22 billion, money we now learn was entering a system where corruption was already a known problem pre war, where governance was still being rebuilt, where even the EU said Ukraine must address corruption before joining the bloc. And well, we just ignored it because that's the liberal way. So, what does our government do now? Well, who knows? Probably ignore it all still. Because to Justin Trudeau and to now Mark Carney, due diligence isn't a duty of theirs. It's an inconvenience. It's in the way of policy they think will earn them power and votes. That's what they're looking for here, is a liberal majority government. We'll talk about that in future episodes this week because we've got a feisty entire week for you to kick off December. This is the part voters need to really sit with, okay? The liberals didn't lose this money, okay? They didn't misplace it. They didn't forget to follow up on it. Here's what the liberals did. They never intended to follow up on it at all. They never intended to ask for receipts. They never intended to see what the money was spent on in any way. This is the liberal condition. Spending is a political strategy, not an economic act, and therefore it is designed to earn them votes and nothing more. Money is a talking point, not a resource. Oversight is optional if you're a liberal, and accountability is simply cosmetic. And every single time Canadians demand answers, the liberals use the same old script. We've all heard it before. Number one, it's complex. Number two, it's confidential. We can't be telling you how it's used. Number three, it's all classified. Number four, you're spreading misinformation, everybody. It is just that we've helped out with the war. And number five, it's a matter of national security. But when a scandal blows up, like this one, and suddenly the truth is now out there, they never had control over any of it. Not a single dollar they sent over there. They never monitored anything. They never verified anything. And they certainly never cared to track whether your money was being used properly. This is the typical liberal way. And it is time for Canadians to wake up because, as usual, they're too busy chasing headlines, photo ops, and splashy announcements with Danielle Smith that make them look like global heroes. But here's the twist. This scandal in Ukraine doesn't just reflect poorly on Ukraine. It reflects even worse on Canada because we had the most blind version of funding of any major donor nation to the cause of this war in the world. We now have to look in the mirror ourselves and ask ourselves how much of our $22 billion actually reached Ukrainian soldiers and Ukrainian people? How much actually supported civilians? How much was siphoned off by these insiders? And how much of that will we ever even truly know? And the answer is simple. None. We will never know. That's it. We will never know unless there's some sort of deep inquiry into this. And even then, you have to go to Ukraine to figure it out because the liberals didn't want to know in the first place. And because of that, there are no receipts, not even on a napkin. There is nothing. There is nothing to show where any of these dollars were spent. While this scandal erupts, by the way, what is Prime Minister Mark Carney doing about it? Well, we haven't heard comments on it at all. He's been traveling the world, signing non-binding and unenforceable, legally meaningless memorandums of understanding, like basically like Oprah throwing coupons at an entire audience. And look, the reality is he's doing it here too. He did it with Danielle Smith last week. You get an MOU. You get an MOU. Everybody gets an MOU. Everybody here gets an MOU. I don't have to do anything with it anyway, and I don't have to live up to it. And hopefully it earns me a majority in the spring. He wasn't even present when Sweden's king was here with a 30-member trade delegation. He had a dinner with the king and then he took off. A real agreement, a real deal, took off, wasn't part of it because he didn't procure it. Instead, he was in the UAE signing another PR stunt MOU that isn't worth the paper it's written on. This is a government obsessed with performative spending, not productive spending. They love the appearance of leadership, not the responsibility of leadership. And that's the problem, because to be a true leader, you need to be responsible for the actions you take as a leader, which is why they could so easily send $22 billion to Ukraine with zero tracking, because tracking isn't part of the liberal identity. Announcing is, sloganeering is, standing with is, photo shoots are. That's the liberal way. It's all about being seen so votes come your way. But fiscal stewardship, oh, forget about that. Never. We don't care about that. We're not even going to look at that. Don't worry about it. Here's your money. Take it. Enjoy. Enjoy. I hope you use it correctly, but if you don't, whatevs. Doesn't matter. It earned us a vote. We did something nice for you. Look, let's talk about the fallout here, because there's going to be fallout and it's going to be major, and you might not see it right away, but the fallout nobody in mainstream Canadian media will touch, because it does make the Liberals look like absolute morons and amateurs. It is that the $22 billion, folks, is probably gone. We have to accept that not all of it, but enough of it, that taxpayers should feel betrayed, right? Because the reality is most of it's gone. Enough of it that oversight should have been mandatory, right? Enough of it that Canada should demand a full forensic review. Will Mark Carney demand one? Probably not, because it's going to make him look bad, real bad, because it would expose his own negligence in this whole thing and Trudeau's before him. Number two, here's the other piece of fallout for you. Canada's global reputation is now gullible. That's the way we look. Everybody who looks at Canada right now goes, look at those gullible guys. They didn't even ask for receipts when they sent $22 billion. And now look, the country that lectured everyone about responsible governance is the same country that wrote a $22 billion check and walked away like a lottery winner who never kept the ticket stub in the first place. The United States didn't do this. They required checks and balances. The EU didn't do this. They required receipts. Japan didn't do this. They required accountability. But Canada, the grown up in the room, at least the way we called ourselves, did do this without checks, balances, or receipts. And then now you've got Putin. Putin now has leverage in peace talks. This is the part nobody's talking about. The corruption scandal weakens Zelenskyy big time at the worst possible moment. And President Trump, who is trying to somehow broker peace here, now has to negotiate with a partner whose own administration is under investigation. That makes it very, very difficult when sitting there negotiating with Vladimir Putin. Meanwhile, Canada's contributions may have been funneled into God knows what. I mean, God knows what inside that same administration, that Zelenskyy administration. Where is it? What did they use it for? Canadians are going to pay for this twice. That's the ultimate answer here. Once when the money was sent, and then again when the Liberals now claim they need more taxes to help Ukraine rebuild, because that's coming too. Get ready. It's going to be there. That's coming, and you know it, because Christia has already been there in the last 2 weeks again. They always use their mistakes as justification to collect more from you. So expect that they will also blame that the deficit hits $100 billion because of this Ukrainian scandal. How could they have known? Now we have to help Ukrainians rebuild. Well, you could have known by just having receipts. That's the question. So here is the real question I want every viewer to ask as we wrap this up this morning. Who in this government is standing up for your money? Who? Who do you think it is? I want you to tell me in the comments down below, especially if you're liberal. Who's standing up for your money? Who's checking in on it? Give me the name right now. Do it in the comments. Melanie Joly didn't bother to read a multi-billion-dollar contract. Chrystia Freeland presided over the latest deficits, or the largest deficits, I should say, in modern Canadian history. Mark Carney is spending like a Bond villain with a blank treasury. Trudeau, before him, treated taxpayer money like it was confetti. So who is it? Who's the one? Who's the one responsible? Do you really think it's Francois Philippe Champagne? I highly doubt it. There's no one. And scandals like this reveal exactly why accountability matters in Canada. The Liberals refuse to treat money like a finite resource. Instead, they treat it like an endless pool. And that's the problem here. That's like an overspending spouse, whether it's a husband or a wife that just can't stop spending. And when corruption is uncovered overseas, their first response is always, well, we didn't know. How can you not know? You are the leaders of a government. You should be researching where your money is about to go. You didn't ask. That's why you didn't know. You didn't track. You didn't verify. You didn't monitor. You didn't require proof. And now here we are. In Liberal Canada, real leadership is measured by how much money you can announce on X, not how responsibly you actually steward that money once it goes out the doors, once it leaves this country, because they don't steward it at all. And that's the problem. So let's close this out for this morning. Grab your coffee, warm it up, finish it out. Here we go. It's Monday morning. Look, Canada deserves a much better government. Canada deserves a government that treats taxpayer money like it should be treated, something sacred, not disposable that you can just throw out to wherever you think there's a problem in this world, and a government that respects oversight, a government that doesn't confuse spending with success, a government that understands the difference between supporting Ukraine and enabling corruption. The Ukrainian people are victims. We know this. Nobody is disagreeing with this. The Ukrainian people are victims of all of this corruption, but now so are we. But unlike them, we had a choice. We could have asked for receipts. We had the chance to demand accountability for this money. We had the chance to require oversight. And our government, as it stands today, refused to do that. Now, the truth is all spilling out because of this now, isn't it? And Canadians deserve to know exactly what that means, right? We have a huge scandal over in Ukraine. And when $22 billion vanish into a fog of war and corruption, the ones who ultimately pay the price aren't the insiders in Kiev. It's you. It's the taxpayers in Calgary, the seniors in Halifax, the families in Winnipeg, the workers in Windsor, the small businesses in Victoria. Everybody pays. Everybody pays when all of this happens. Everyone's struggling to get by in a country where accountability has become an absolute myth. The Liberal government has failed you. That is the bottom line. Whether you like it or not, they have failed you again and again. And now you have the evidence. Thanks for watching Bakes on Things, the first sip. I hope you have a fantastic Monday. Don't forget to join us at 2:45 this afternoon for the last word. We will see you then. Enjoy your Monday morning.